If we go in the browser, refresh, hit the submit button, the notification is added at the top, but the element being animated is at the bottom. What the hell is going on? Well, the reason why this happens is because here I have a default Laravel Breeze installation with Inertia and Vue.js. What I want to do is add toast notifications. You know, those kinds of notifications that appear in the top right corner of the screen. You see them for a couple of seconds and then they disappear. Now, because this is an app-wide feature, so any page should be able to show this type of notifications, the Vue component we're going to build will be placed in a layout file, specifically the authenticated layout component. To get things going, I'll copy and paste a toast example from Flowbyte, which is an open source Tailwind component library. I'll go here to default toast, hit copy to grab the code snippet, go back to our component inside the main div, paste it in, hit save, and here's our toast message. However, as you can see, it's incorrectly positioned. It should always appear in the top right corner of the screen. To do that, we can add the fixed class and then do top, let's say 4 to have some spacing, and right 4. Another thing we should also do is increase the z-index to make sure the element stacks over any other element in the page. So we'll do something like z50. Now the toast message is correctly positioned, but if I am to add another one, so if I copy and paste this, the elements will stack over each other. What we can do is add a parent element, so I'll wrap this within a div and turn this one into a fixed element. So I'll grab these classes, go here, paste them in, and now if we add another toast message, it will appear under the first one. Let's also add some spacing. So space y4, let's say, and let's also grab the classes controlling the width. So I'll grab these, paste them here. Let's remove this one. Let's delete the ID because we won't need it. And now if we add more messages, they will appear under each other, which is what we wanted. Now that we're done with the visual part, let's grab this and turn it into a Vue component. So I'll grab this, go to resources, JS components, create a new file called toast.list.vue. We'll have script setup, and then template, paste that in, go back to the authenticated layout and replace this with toast list. Let's import the component. We'll do import toast list from component/toastlist.vue. And here it is. If we go inside the toast list component, we can take this even further by extracting a toast list item component. We'll grab the markup corresponding to a single toast notification, go to our components directory, create a new file called toast.list.item.vue. We'll have script setup, template, and I'll paste that in. Back to our toast list, we'll import the new component. So we'll do import toast list item from /components/toastlistitem.vue. And then we'll use it here. There we go. However, right now, the toast list item component can only be used to show this set yourself free message. We need to be able to customize this, and we can do that using props. We'll go here and define the props. We'll do const props equals define props, and we'll have message, which will be a string. Then we can take this and replace it with props.message. Back to our toast list component, we can go ahead and pass in the message prop. And here it is. Let's add another one. And another one. However, continuing to copy and paste this toast list item component is not a good way going forward. We need a more data-driven approach. What we can do is store the toast messages inside an array and then loop through it. So I'll grab the messages, go inside script setup and do const items equals ref of array. Let's import ref from Vue. And here we'll have an array of objects with a message key. So I'll paste those in and turn them into objects. Then down here, we'll remove these two and loop through the array. So we'll do v4 item index in items. We'll turn this into a dynamic prop and do item.message. Let's also add the key. And now we still have the same thing, but we can add new toast messages in a more data-driven way. Moving on, let's see how we can remove a notification. Now we have this X button right here, which is inside the toast list item component, but the data controlling whether or not this component should be rendered is inside the parent component. Now the way a child component communicates with a parent component in Vue is through events. So let's go back to our child component and do const emit equals define emits, and we'll have remove. Now whenever the user clicks on the X button, so on click, we'll emit that event. So we'll do emit remove. Back to our parent component, we'll listen to that event, so we'll do @remove, and we'll call a remove function and pass it the current index. Let's define the remove function, which will receive the index, and we'll use that to remove the item from the array. So we'll do items.value, splice, we'll pass it the index, and then the number of items we want to remove, which is 1. Now, if I refresh and click on the X button, the notification is removed. If we think about adding a notification to our items array, one use case would be when a form is submitted and we flash some session data on the server. So let's close the browser for a moment, open our dashboard page component, and add the dummy form. So I'll go here and say form. On submit, pre-event, call the submit function, and inside the form we'll just have a button saying submit. Now inside script setup, we'll create a form using the Inertia form helper, so we'll do const form equals use form, and we'll pass it an empty object, and then for the submit function, we'll just take that form and post it to a test endpoint. Then I'll open the web routes file to add the new endpoint, so we'll do route post /test function, and this will just redirect back, so we'll do return redirect back, but while doing so, we'll also flash some session data using with. We'll need to pass a key, let's say toast, and a message, toast endpoint. However, another thing we need to do is make sure we share this toast session data with our frontend. And we can do that by going inside the handle inertia request middleware, scroll down to the share function, and add a new key to this array. Let's say toast, and we'll use session to grab the session data. Now, if we go in the browser and refresh, open up the DevTools, inspect the props, we see we have toast null, but once we submit the form, the value changes to toast endpoint. What we need to do now is add this toast value to our array of items. We could do that by watching the props for changes, but that won't work that good because sometimes the message we get back might be the same. A more reliable way is to listen to the inertia finish event. So let's go back to our toast list component and add an event listener. We'll do inertia on finish. We'll have a callback, and in this callback, we'll check the page props, and if we have a toast message, we'll add it to the items array. So let's import inertia from inertia. Let's use the use page composable to grab the props. So we'll do const page equals use page, and we'll import this from inertia. And then here we'll basically do if page.props.value toast. So if we have a toast, we'll do items value on shift because we want to push the item at the start of the array. Message equals page props value toast. Let's go in the browser, refresh, hit the submit button, and here they are. We can of course remove them, submit again, and so on. However, one important thing to keep in mind is that pretty much any time we add an event listener, we need to make sure we also remove it when we no longer need it. Otherwise, we risk ending up with a dozen of event listeners that do the same thing. Now, with Inertia, whenever you register an event listener, the result you get back is a callback you can execute whenever you want to remove that event listener. So we can store this in a variable. We'll do remove finish event listener. And then whenever the component is unmounted, we'll execute that function. So we'll do remove finish event listener. Let's test it out, refresh, submit, and everything is still working. So we've tackled the use case where an Inertia request is made and the server returns a toast message. But what about adding toast notifications programmatically? For example, when making a regular access request. Let's say we go to our dashboard page component, add a new button that will add toast. And when this button is clicked, it will call an add toast function. Let's define the function. And here, what I basically want to do is communicate with our toast list component and tell it to add a new item inside the array. However, as you may know, direct cross-component communication is not possible in Vue. We need something in the middle to handle the state. That something can either be a Pina store if you use Pina for state management, or a basic Vue composable. We'll go with the second approach. I'll go ahead and create a new directory, and we'll call this one stores, and inside it we'll have a file called toast.js. This file will simply export a reactive object, so we'll do export default reactive, and we'll import this from Vue, and inside it we'll have an items key which will be our array of toast notifications. Let's go ahead and grab it from here, paste it in, and then instead of having this ref right here, we'll import toast from /store/toast, and wherever we have items, we'll use the toast object. So here we'll have toast.items, and the same thing here. If we go in the browser, refresh, hit the submit button, click the X button, everything still works the same, but we now have a store with which any component can communicate with. That means if I go to my dashboard page component and import the toast store from /store/toast, inside the add toast function, we can do toast.items on shift and push a new object. Hello from dashboard. Let's go in the browser, click the add toast button, and here it is. However, now that we have an object, we can add methods to it. So here we can do add, and we'll receive a toast. And we can basically do this items on shift toast. And of course, we can also have a remove function, which will take in an index, and we'll do this items splice index of 1. Then we can go back to our dashboard page component and say toast add. Go to our toast list component and say toast add. And here we'll say toast remove index. This is not only a lot cleaner, but we've now centralized the way we mutate our items array. Moving on, there are two more things we need to do. The first one is to add some animations, while the second one is to make the toast notifications go away after a couple of seconds. To add the animations, we'll go back to our toast list component and make use of the built-in transition group component. This works just the same as a regular transition, but with more elements. So we'll convert this div into a transition group, and we'll pass it a tag prop equal to div, such that Vue renders this component as a div element. Then we'll have an enter from class prop, enter active class prop, leave active class prop, and leave to class prop. The enter from class prop represents the starting point of our toast notification when it is added to the DOM. So it should start outside of the screen. To do that, here we can add translate x full, and let's also say opacity 0. And the same thing should happen when the element leaves the DOM. Now, while it's doing that, it should do it in a duration of, let's say, 500 milliseconds. If we go in the browser, refresh, hit the submit button, the notification is added at the top, but the element being animated is at the bottom. What the hell is going on? Well, the reason why this happens is because an array index is a horrible choice as a component key. This key should be unique to the item in the loop, but instead we are using the index, which represents the current position of the item in the array. But this is not unique as it changes when we add another item at the start of the array. So what happens here is that Vue reuses the existing DOM elements and only adds a new element at the bottom, and that is why this element is being animated. To fix this, we just need a better key. We don't have an ID, but what we can use instead is a symbol. A symbol is a built-in object whose constructor returns a symbol primitive that's guaranteed to be unique. So back to our toast store, when we add a new toast, we could also add a key here that is a symbol, and then use the spread operator to get the rest of the properties. Back to our toast list component, instead of using the index as key, we can just say item.key. Now if we refresh and hit the submit button, the toast notification is added and animated at the top, which is what we wanted. Same thing when we remove the notifications. Let's go ahead and focus on the other thing, which is automatically removing the toast notifications after a couple of seconds. To do that, we can go inside our toast list item component and on the onMounted hook. So when this component is mounted, we'll start a timer using set. So we'll use set timeout and we'll emit the remove event after, let's say, 2 seconds. I'll save and let's also remove the toast items from inside the array. And now we can just add a new toast and the elements will disappear after 2 seconds. Of course, we can also customize that. We can go to our toast list item component and send this as a prop. So here we can do duration and it's of type number and we'll set default to 2000. And then here we'll use props.duration. Now, if we want to go to our toast list component, we can pass in a duration prop, which we can set to, let's say, 1000 milliseconds. And there we go. To recap, we have a toast store with which any component or composable can communicate with, and this allows us to programmatically add in notifications using the add method. And we also have an Inertia event listener here inside the toast list component that checks for toast messages whenever we make an Inertia request. And that was it. Code snippets are on Tollpad. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, share it, subscribe, click the bell button, all that good stuff. Bye!